So in this video, I'd like to take a look at the ELE-CNFL-DSLR shoulder mount kit that I had found online. This was pretty much the best looking setup that I had found for the money, being just in the couple $100 range. The things that I liked most about it was that the grips, the hand grips here, were all adjustable in different positions. I had never used one of these type of mounts before, so I figured, I think this would probably be the best, just simply because everything was articulatable, if that's the right word, just so I could get the best positioning for where I wanted to hold my hands, essentially. Now, in the original sales photo here, you'll notice that the shoulder pad here actually has been reversed. That is by my choice. I've also made a whole bunch of different modifications to the shoulder mount itself. One being that I've actually added a gold mount battery mount with the plate with the quick disconnect on the back. That was because the original package had come with some counterweights that you would actually put weights back here to counterbalance the way that the camera and the distribution of the weight on the mount itself. And this seemed like a more logical solution than just putting dead weight that's not serving any purpose to the camera itself. The main reason why I had actually turned this backwards was because the way that you hold this thing, when you have camera and screen and all the weight of your hands holding this on your shoulder, it actually wants to fall forward. So there's nothing stopping other than, just a whole bunch of weight holding it on your shoulder here. There's nothing holding it from falling forward. And I'm going to demonstrate that to you now. So if I actually take this guy, and I do need to come up with a better solution. This magic arm that I have here is not the best solution for holding this display. But if you look here, when I actually hold this, the weight wants to go down, but I'm actually pushing up to hold this in place. So if you see here, I don't actually need to wrap my hands around this. I can just push up and the camera can stay in place. When you had the camera or the curved pad here, when this was actually flipped around, you were constantly having to keep your fingers tight like this together to keep the weight from falling forward, because there's a lot of weight up here to the front. This is probably a couple pounds really. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take this and flip this around. Let's see here. Let me do this. So all I'm simply going to do is just loosen the back two posts here, and I'm going to take this off and I'm going to flip this around. Now, for weight's sake, because I'm putting the weight in front of myself now, I'm actually going to take the battery off, so there's no weight. This plate doesn't weigh very much. And now I'm going to hold on to it the way that the factory intended it to be. And as you can see here, I can kind of, it's hard to demonstrate on camera the way that this is, but I don't want to let go these two fingers, because it wants to fall forward. I can't just push with the palms of my hands here. I have to almost put my hand under it like this to push up. So if I let go, it just wants to fall forward. And that's partially due to the fact that when you're holding this, unless you slide this pad here, what I'll do is I'll actually slide it up some. There we go. Put it right about there. And even by putting it there, it does help a little bit with the offset of how you're holding it. But again, if I let go, it just wants to fall. Again, very, very hard. You have to hold it. And I've had a couple friends of mine that are not videographers at all, and I said, hold this way, hold this other way, and they were like, wow, and they couldn't believe how much easier it was. And to hold this camera like this with this pad here, even with a counterweight, now you've got a heavy weight back here to try and pull this back. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to flip this back around now. So this is not really a modification as far as having to do anything, do any drilling or any mounting or anything of that sort to this plate here. All you have to do is just essentially mount it backwards. It's very simple. So I'm going to put it back on like this. And we'll put the battery back on. Okay, so essentially what I did was not only did I actually flip this plate back here 180 degrees, I actually slid. There's actually a plate here, and I'll show you in just a second. That I had also slid backwards, and I think I actually flipped the plate upside down so that in the original picture, and I'll put it on screen, I think I actually flipped it up this curve here upside down. I can't remember at the moment, but what the main things that I did was on the back here, and what we can do is I can actually disconnect some of these things. Take this wire that I've put together here. Okay. So what we're going to focus on here is just this. This is the most important thing that you want to modify if you're going to own this this shoulder mount, because this is the difference between being comfortable for you know, many minutes, if not hours on end, or having your arms cramp up or just feel like jelly at the end of the day. So I'm going to take the battery off here, and we'll set this aside. And we can see, and actually let me zoom in for you guys here. Slowly zooming in. Okay, so what this plate right here, this guy right here, I actually moved this. I don't think I drilled any. No, I didn't. Okay, so this is the correct way around. So the plate actually does sit like this normally, but it's just reverse, where this would be on the front of your chest here. So you have the flat part that would normally be pressing against your chest, and then you would have this curved part right here would be on the front of your, would actually be on the back of your shoulder, now is on the front of your shoulder, the way that I have it set up. So I've actually slid this plate all the way back, and then what I've done, and I'll actually take these off so you can see what I ended up doing. So what I like is that this padding is actually removable, which is really nice. So if you needed to wash it or something, you could. The plate here, I've actually mounted it even lower than what it would normally be set up to be. That was simply because I wanted the center of gravity of the battery here to be as low as possible, because when you actually hold this, like say for example, if you have, actually I should probably zoom out a little bit. There we go. If you put a weight on essentially what looks to be like a pendulum almost, when you put the weight on the bottom, the whole apparatus wants to stay as far down to the ground as it can, because gravity's pulling it down. So it's going to stay, the lower you get, the straighter it's going to be. And there are a lot of Steadicams out there, the non-motorized ones, that actually have it where it has a pendulum, and then there's batteries or counterweights at the bottom. And the reason that the camera stays level when you're walking, it has like a little bearing, a little eyelet bearing there that it can swing freely. But the reason it stays level is because the weight is going to the ground. And that was my logic behind the way that I've done this is that the lower you can get the weight, the more that it's going to try to self-level itself. It's always going to try to, the weight's going to try and pull it down. So when originally this was set up, this was mounted on your chest right here. This piece would actually be on the back, and this plate was supposed to, if you see these 4 holes here, this plate was supposed to sit here, and the weights were supposed to sit on here. The problem is that you're actually slightly above where the camera is, so that you don't have a low center of gravity, you have a very high center of gravity, and that's very bad, because that will actually cause a lot of easy movement. So if you actually had no weight down here, the camera would actually be easily tiltable. So in doing some testing, when I would hold the camera, and I'll zoom out again here, when I would hold the camera, what would happen is you would be holding onto it like this, and the camera would very easily be tilting like this. It would never stay level, and for the most part you want to hold your camera level unless you're trying to be like on a Dutch angle or something, you know, trying to be fancy. But with this, you know, you want to stay level, and you don't want to be straining your hands. So essentially, if you take this plate, which I believe is the original one that I got, drill some holes in it, and first things first, flip this around so that it's on your back side here. So now it's pressing, and actually I'll turn here so you can see, it's pressing on your back very flush, so that it's very comfortable for a long time. And now, even with, you know, just my thumb pulling on it, it doesn't want to come forward. Even with no weight on it, it doesn't want to come forward, because it's holding on. And that's without the grip pad, or this cushion, and that's not even with the battery. So you can see how that stays on there like that. So that's the first thing. Second thing, put the battery mount all the way to the bottom, even if you have to drill holes. Or if you want to put it in these ones that are pre-drilled, that's fine. I just chose to do it like this. So that is probably the most important modification that you can make to this kit, this unit, whatever you want to call it. Now, I typically don't use this type of setup. This is more like you know, if you're trying to go for a cinema feel, because the camera that I'm actually using on here is the Panasonic GH4, which can do 4K, and it's a very inexpensive camera for what it can do. Very good camera. And so in order to get a 4K camera that was shoulder mount, this is probably the cheapest setup that you can do. You don't need to have the monitor on here. You could just flip out the viewfinder and hold it like that. But besides the point, some of the other nice things that it had was the adjustable plate for the camera itself. So if I actually loosen this, now you can actually take the camera and move the camera forward and back. It doesn't come with any type of barn doors or baffles to actually protect the lens from light coming from the side or anything like that. But that's not what I wanted. I just wanted the best handheld mount for the money, that didn't need all the bells and whistles, that didn't come with the follow focus and all that other stuff. I just wanted the mount, but a high quality one. Now, one thing that kind of annoyed me on this setup was that if you look, and actually let me zoom in again for you. If you look right, we'll say, where is it? There it is. Okay. If you look on the side of these, I really like these thumb screws here for actually tightening everything together. And what's really nice is that you can re-index them. So if you pull them out, you can actually adjust them so that, like, for example, right here, it's actually hitting on this pipe right here, and you couldn't turn it anymore without potentially breaking the plastic. But if you actually go here, you can actually turn it back, and now you can get more leverage on it. The one thing that was kind of annoying was that they didn't actually include an Allen key for this, because what was a nice feature, and this is great, is you can put an Allen on here and you can actually really torque this down so it stays in place so it doesn't move on you. And actually what I've done is, if we go zooming out some more, on the top of this, this is not included with the kit, by the way. This is a totally separate mount for, or enclosure for the GH4. But I actually put a Allen key here that's held down with a rubber band so it doesn't move around, and it's actually the same size for this enclosure that goes into right here. So it's actually nice that even though these two manufacturers were not communicating with each other, that it's the same size. Maybe a little bit of play, but it's similar enough. So anyway, the hand grips here, and this is one of the reasons why I liked it, is that everything is articulable. Everything can turn. You can turn this. You can, again, so you can see here that I need to actually lift this thumb screw here to actually re-index it to get it into position. The only thing that I don't like about it is that these pipes here, when you're actually holding this, because these arms are as long as they are, and let me zoom out again. These arms are as long as they are, you have a tendency that they will actually, on this main pipe right here in the front that actually holds these I can't even think, hand grips. There we go, hand grip. Can't think today. These hand grips down here, when you hold on to these hand grips, the camera can actually, or the hand grip, with all this leverage on this pipe here, can actually torque it a little bit and actually move it out of place. So if you're doing any running or anything like that, you will actually potentially move it out of place a little bit, and that's happened to me. The pipes are all the same going across this way and going front to back this way, which is nice because everything's universal. It's all the same size, which makes, if you ever had to move anything around, you could do it easily. And because everything rides on these rails, you can take things off and put them on. If you wanted to run with just one hand grip, you could. Now, what I typically will use, and I don't use this very often, but these are just the inputs and modifications that I've made for the little use that I have used it for. I typically run with what's called an ENG style camera. This is a shoulder camera, and the camera itself is the entire shoulder mount. And what I like about these type of cameras, and this is what I'll typically use, and this is considered a broadcast style camera. And when you put it on, you actually hold it like this. And this is what I'm used to. So what's nice about it is that you have the speaker here, and actually this whole side of the camera, you don't need to have any of that counterweight going down to keep the camera level like this, simply because you're actually resting the camera against your head, which your head is typically straight up and down like this. Actually, let me zoom out a little bit more. So when you're holding this, I'll just move the viewfinder out of the way, your head is actually acting as the mechanism that actually keeps the camera, perfectly level or close enough. The other thing is that when you're actually holding onto it, your hand is in a good position where you can lean it against your body, and that can just be easily manipulated by moving the hand grip, up like this. This is actually extremely comfortable to hold. And then even with the added of having a viewfinder here, this actually helps to the stability of the camera, because now you've got it from the side, which is keeping it level, and then you also have the eyepiece, which is actually also in a small way keeping the camera level. You're also pulling focus on this focus ring here. So now you've actually got two hands on the camera like this, and you've got all these different components, both the eyepiece and the side of the camera, that are actually keeping the camera level. So you don't really need to have any type of pendulum style counterweight to keep the camera level. Also, as an added bonus, the battery is on the back of the camera, so that the camera does not want to, it's balanced well, I guess, is the best thing I can describe, is that the camera is balanced extremely well when you're holding it, and you can hold it for hours and hours and not get as tired as you would if you were holding this DSLR rig the way they originally intended it, or what I'm assuming they originally intended it to be. So I just wanted to show this just from where I come from, going into this type of rig, and the features that I tried to pull from this and put into the design of this to make it more comfortable, if that makes any sense. So how do I feel about everything overall? I like the build quality. I like the materials that they used. The materials seem nice. It doesn't seem like anything's going to break anytime soon. And I'm actually just going to put this back together. I like that the powder coated materials, like for example on the back here, everything is powder coated on here. It seems very, very well done, except for this minor little thing that could make, you know, if you have somebody that doesn't really have the ambition or the mechanical know-how to say, oh, I'm going to drill a hole in this, I'm going to modify this, I'm going to do this. If you have somebody that's just trying to buy something and think that it's going to work right out of the box, I don't think this is the best setup unless you're willing to modify it slightly. Even if that means pulling it out and turning it around, that will make life so much better right off of the bat. But if you're willing to, you know, for example, put a battery plate on here as the counterweight to actually power your screen or even your camera, for example, these things can dramatically change how you run this system. If you're willing to do modifications, this isn't very hard. It's just a couple drill holes to be drilled and that's it. So this wasn't really an unboxing. This was more of a just, hey, look what I have, and maybe this will help you if you're in the market, you know, and look at what I've done to make it better. Hopefully it's useful. If you guys have any input about what you thought of the video or how it could be even more useful or something like that, please let me know. I'd like to do some reviews or just I don't even think really reviews. I think demonstrations would be a better description. There's a lot of reviews and unboxing videos, and I don't really have any intention on doing that. I think unboxing is very boring. I'd rather like to see what people have done to either A, make it better, because a review is just saying, oh, it's great or it sucks, but okay, can we make it better? For example, you know, this cage or this mount enclosure for the camera, the Slim Rig, has been absolutely fantastic for the camera, because now I've set it up where I can go from this this shoulder mount assembly to a actual DJI Ronin. I can actually pull the camera off and slap it right in the Ronin. I've actually got it balanced to this. So I'd like to demonstrate that too, because I haven't seen anybody that's actually used a cage on going from a hand rig like this to a motorized Steadicam or gimbal. So anyway, rambling at this point. Hopefully you guys liked the video or found it at least useful or entertaining. If so, you guys can give it a thumbs up, thumbs down, I don't really care. Subscribe if you want to see more, and hopefully this will become more of a common thing. Thank you for watching.